Hey everybody, thank you so much for joining today's webinar. I'm super excited to have you as we unpack Amazon Prime Day 2022 and dig deeper into any consumer trends and top brands and keywords that we may not be aware of. First things first, a little bit about me. My name is Brandon Newquist. I'm an e-commerce specialist here at Similarweb, focusing generally on retail and CPG trends. I started at Similarweb as an industry analyst, and I'm currently helping support the rollout and development of our shopper intelligence solution. So today we're going to go over high-level Amazon Prime Day performance and a couple of key metrics. That being said, if you have any questions or you want to dig deeper into a specific category, please reach out through the integrated marketing email alias below, so we can dig deeper and send you any additional insights that you may have questions about. Thinking about the data sources for today's presentations, there are two main data sources. The first one being Similarweb's Digital Suite solution. So Similarweb Digital Suite is essentially the measuring stick of the digital world. You can essentially measure website traffic or engagement metrics on almost any website out there, giving your D2C site a complete view of the competitive marketplace. Additionally, we have Similarweb Shopper Intelligence, This is our solution that digs deeper into specific marketplaces. Think about Amazon, Walmart, Target, etc. We get even deeper into those kind of performance metrics there, where in addition to having traffic metrics, we also have unit sales, revenue, product views within certain categories as brands as well. So a bit deeper dive there. Moving on to what we'll cover today, essentially we're going to go over Amazon.com Prime Day performance overall. Keep in mind we're not covering the UK or Canada or Germany today. We're focused on Amazon.com specifically. We'll also be digging a little deeper into performance in specific categories. Additionally, we'll be measuring the impact inflation has had on the prices this Prime Day. And last but not least, we'll be going over Prime Day's halo effect, essentially Prime Day's impact it's had on competitive online retailers as well. So let's get to it. Thinking about Amazon Prime Day specifically, Amazon posted a post-Prime Day press release right after Prime Day. They said it was the biggest Prime Day event that it ever had, and they called out some interesting insights. They said worldwide there were over $1.7 billion saved. They also mentioned it was the biggest Prime Day ever for their SMB partners, they're small, medium-sized businesses. They also called out that it was the biggest Prime Day for Amazon devices, particularly. They also included some, fun insights around summertime, mentioning that the U.S. Used Prime Day to purchase 1.2 million pairs of sunglasses and 1 million swimsuits. However, the press release was lacking in key metrics. They didn't go too deep into the actual sales performance or data as to why this was the biggest Prime Day event ever. So today we're going to dig a little deeper and uncover some of those key metrics for you all. So looking at Amazon.com's sales performance on Prime Day 2022 versus Prime Day 2021, you can see that Amazon did in fact outperform themselves year over year. On the left, we're seeing product views. In the middle, we have unit sales. And on the left-hand side, we have revenue. And you'll see in all key metrics, we do have that year-over-year growth. Product views grew 20%, unit sales grew 15%, and revenue grew 29%. The fact that we're seeing revenue grow at a faster rate than unit sales does also indicate consumers were willing to, stomach some of those higher prices and, continue to spend regardless of those inflationary pressures. Thinking about how Prime Day performs in comparison to a regular day on Amazon, here we have the daily averages for revenue and product views on Amazon.com for the couple of weeks before Prime Day. So on the left, you'll see week 1 daily average. This was 3 weeks before Prime Day. Then you'll see week 2, week 3, and then Prime Day, day 1, Prime Day, day 2, etc. So you'll notice that week 1, week 2, week 3, pricing or product views and revenue was fairly static. Amazon was doing an early deals push, particularly for its Amazon devices. That being said, we see a slight uptick in terms of revenue and product views, but nothing too significant. That being said, when we go to the actual day of the event, we see that revenue increased product views increased 126% in terms of that week 3 daily average, and that revenue quadrupled, right? Revenue increased 300% day over day. Indicating, a smash success for the site. We'll see that day 2 was less successful, however, still far outcompeting the previous daily averages. So definitely indicating that day 1 is the day of days. However, day 2 is still, a good opportunity to sell on Amazon. Now looking at how day one and day two differed in terms of transactions by hour, right? So we see that day one is that blue line and day two is that orange line. We see that day one peaked around 1 p.m., right? So it was really the middle of the day. Oh, and sorry, keep in mind we're looking at Eastern time as well. So we see that peak at 1 p.m. Eastern time in the afternoon, being 10 a.m. On the West Coast. So that was really the peak of day one. But when looking at day two, we actually see that peak much more towards the end of the day. That's 11 p.m. Eastern time and around 8 a.m. Western time. So thinking about that, we're seeing that day two peak really fall among those people, those last second deal chasers, those last second bargain hunters, right? Really trying to get one last discounted purchase in before the day ends. Thinking about the most heavily utilized keywords by users, these are the top keywords ranked by unique user, and we have them split by 2021 versus 2022. So immediately you'll notice some of the keywords highlighted in red on the 2021 side. These are the keywords that were no longer part of the top keywords list in 2022. So we'll see that keywords that kind of relate to building out a home office like keyboard and desk, as well as SSD. SSD is a kind of hard drive. You'll see that those keywords no longer populate the list. Think about as we've returned to a sense of normalcy, especially in the States, people are now no longer, they've returned to the office or have already built out their home office, so there's less demand for these kind of goods. Additionally, we'll see keywords related to video games or gaming. We see that gaming chair and Nintendo Switch have fallen off the list as well. We definitely saw gaming peak during COVID while everyone was forced to stay at home, and we have seen the hobby, become less popular as time goes on. So it makes sense to see those keywords drop off the top keyword list. Moving over to the 2022 side, we are seeing some new entries in the space. Amazon gift card topping the list in terms of ranks by unique users. We've actually seen Amazon doing a kind of competitive push in terms of their gift card business. Not only within Prime Day, but we've seen the gift card business actually grow month over month. So it makes sense to see them at the top of the keyword list here. Additionally, we have some, obvious entries. We see the Apple Watch and Apple Watch Series 7s populate this list. The Apple Watch was a huge seller this Prime Day. People definitely took the opportunity to purchase the product at a cheaper rate, as it was also released in October. So definitely one of the top grocers, top sellers of this Prime Day. Additionally, we'll see protein powder top the list, be on the 2022 top keyword list. This is a really interesting one to see, especially during summertime. It kind of alludes to the fact that consumers are likely trying to, stay fit as the summer season continues on, and we may be seeing a continued push here as there are some other metrics that I'll allude to that also showcase increased demand in this particular sector. One honorable mention that I wanted to call out was AirPods. AirPods was on the 2021 list. That being said, it is much higher on the top 2022 keyword list. Additionally, we have that long tail AirPods Pro enter the rankings as well. AirPods Generation 3 was also released in October, so that was definitely one of the best sellers. And we, again, saw consumers really take this opportunity to buy more expensive Apple products at a discounted rate here. Moving on, now we're calling out some of the highest grossing products of the day. When I say highest grossing, I mean the products that drove the most revenue. And we'll see a lot of Amazon products dominate the list, right? We see Echo Dot, Blink Outdoor Camera, Fire TV Stick, the Echo Show 5. We see two different kinds of Fire TVs, both the Omni and the 4 series. Indicating Amazon not only capitalized on this sale to drive traffic to the site, but they were also very strategically and perhaps aggressively leading people to buy their own products. And we'll go into that into a bit more detail as we continue as well. Additionally, we see the two Apple products mentioned as part of this list too, Apple's Watch Series 7 and the Apple AirPods 3rd generation. And then a couple of other brands were part of the list too. We saw in the Insignia Smart TV F20 series was included, as well as the iRoomba Roomba, something I think I desperately need. So happy to see that they were on the list as well. Moving on to the best selling products. These were the products that had the highest number of unit sales, but their revenue figures weren't as high as some of the electronics products we saw on the previous slide. So here we see Celsius Energy Drink, specifically the pack. I wasn't familiar with this product, so one thing I will say is that this is an energy drink, but it's billed as a pre-workout drink, right? So we're seeing again a common theme of exercise-related consumable products being popular this Prime Day, having high demand, and this is another example of that. Additionally, we see the Sengled Smart Light and the Casa Smart Plug products, two smart home products. So we might be seeing increased demand in these kind of tech devices as we continue to move forward in the year. Additionally, we have the Dawn dish spray and soap on this list as well, and the Frito-Lay variety pack. Honestly, not gonna lie, since writing this report, I have purchased a Frito-Lay variety pack. Absolutely worth it. So if anyone's interested in snacking, definitely check it out. Moving on to looking at Amazon devices performance across the time period of Prime Day. So here we have a similar analysis. We're looking at that week 1 daily average, which is again 3 weeks before Prime Day actually occurred. And what's super interesting is noticing the market share Amazon devices were able to capture on the day, right? So we're looking at the market share they captured on the site in terms of revenue. And we see that week 1, essentially, kind of an average day on Amazon, they capture about 1% of total revenue on the site. We see that week 2 and week 3, their market share continues to grow. They get 2%, and astoundingly, they reach 6% before Prime Day even starts. So Amazon was already aggressively pushing these products, both probably on its site as well as in its advertising efforts. And then we see on Prime Day, day 1, Amazon devices captured up to 10% of the market share on the day, which I think is an incredible feat. They grew the market share times 10 over the course of that 3-week period. So definitely something to consider for electronic sellers on the site. As we see, they dominated this Prime Day. So if you have a competitive gadget or technology that's going up directly against one of their products, it may be worth thinking about very seriously how much ad spend you want to put into the day, particularly since we see Amazon driving so much of these consumers to their actual products. Okay, cool. So we kind of went over the high level Amazon performance. Now we're going to dig a little deeper into performance by category. So here we have the market share by what Amazon calls their department. These are the departments, excuse me. These are the biggest categories they have on the site. And we'll see the similarities between Prime Day 2021 and Prime Day 2022 relatively quickly. The biggest category is home and kitchen at 19%. The second biggest was electronics at 15% on Prime Day 2022. Interestingly enough, we saw the electronics market share decrease slightly. It fell by 2%, indicating, there was a slight shift in consumer interest this Prime Day to other categories. Again, we see Amazon device and accessory capturing 10% both years. Clothing, shoes, and jewelry captured similarly at 9%, and health and household captured 6% this year, whereas the department, only captured 5% the previous year, indicating that was one of the places where electronics spend may have switched. Additionally, we'll see a slight switch in other as well. That 1 percentage point change was the accumulation of an additional, a very slight share of market share going to an abundance of different categories. Moving on, now we're looking at that same, week 1, week 2, week 3 analysis over time for Prime Day 2022 to get a better understanding of how the categories shifted in the lead up to Prime Day. And so you'll see for almost all categories, week 1 daily average, week 2 daily average, and week 3 daily average was very consistent, right? Electronics, continued to capture 8% throughout this whole time period. We see health and household, drop a percentage point in week 3. But other than that, the only real change was Amazon devices and accessories. The only significant change, I should say. So really interesting to see that Amazon's push to their own products was extremely effective. And then we see on Prime Day, Amazon devices capture that 10%, like we mentioned, and the electronics capture only 15%. So it's been a running, reoccurring theme year over year that this Prime Day is a great time for electronics products. Consumers really take the opportunity to buy more expensive products at a discount. That being said, since we're seeing, Amazon devices grow so much in the days before Prime Day, up to 10%, and we're seeing the electronics category grow essentially only double, while Amazon devices are increasing by 10 times. Again, really just goes to show Amazon is aggressively pushing their own products, and the electronics category will be extremely competitive on this day as well. So something to keep in mind when thinking about next year. Digging a bit deeper into the top brands for each specific category, here we're looking at home and kitchen. Probably no surprise after seeing the increases in market share by Amazon devices, but we see Amazon Basics top the list. An additional one we see is Shark Ninja. You'll see this is the conglomerate company. That being said, both the Shark brand and Ninja brand of products were near the top of the list as highest grossing products in the home and kitchen category. So really interesting there, and it really goes to show the company was extremely effective this Prime Day. Additionally, we've been seeing Bento be very popular. For those unfamiliar, Bento sells bento-style lunchboxes. And this is one of the best-selling products on Prime Day. They didn't have as quite as high revenue numbers as Shark Ninja, but they sold many units. So very impressive for them there. Additionally, we'll look at clothing, shoes, and jewelry, excuse me. Here we have Samsonite. This is aligning with Amazon's own category structure, and luggage actually does fall under clothing, shoes, and jewelry on the Amazon site. That being said, it looks like Samsonite, or it looks like shoppers, excuse me, really took the opportunity to buy, more expensive luggage pieces at a discount, and we really saw Samsonite at the top of the list, driving very competitive revenue figures. Additionally, probably no one's surprised, we see Amazon Essentials in the top clothing, shoes, and jewelry brands as well. Additionally, we have Under Armour kind of aligning with that theme of fitness that we've been seeing. Additionally, for toys and games, we have VTech and Fisher-Price. VTech being more educational toys and Fisher-Price being more baby-themed toys. Obviously, Lego we see at the top of the list, as Lego is by far the leader in the category. Additionally, looking at health and household, 23andMe was the highest grossing brand within this category. 23andMe being the service where you provide some DNA and they let you know a bit more about your ancestry. And then additionally, we see Orgain and Vital Proteins, and the health and household is the top brands as well. Again, aligning with that insight we saw regarding the top keyword for protein powder, we see Orgain and Vital Protein really capitalize on this, bespoke increase for protein-related products. So, we've seen in a couple instances that the Amazon, private label brands have been doing incredibly well on Prime Day. So I thought it was super interesting when the Wall Street Journal published an article the day after Prime Day, exclaiming how there were rumors that Amazon is looking to potentially slash or diminish some of their private label brands. And within the article, there were no hard quotes from Amazon, but they suggested that the leadership was thinking about limiting these private label brands due to weakening sales, or that they were going to do this to appease antitrust regulators, as we've been seeing those type of regulators crack down on some of the tech conglomerates like Google. So taking a look at kind of some of the performance of these private label brands, we do see Salimo and Goodthreads. We do see their unit sales have been declining month over month since 2021, really. So there could be some, truth to this rumor that the Wall Street Journal had published or that they had heard. Although we are seeing that brands like Amazon or different kinds of Amazon devices, and we're seeing specifically here Amazon Basics, that their unit sales is pretty steady month over month, indicating that while they are having weak sales in some of their private label brands, we're not seeing it across the board. So it will be, it'll be interesting to see how Amazon continues to handle its private label brands amidst these rumors as time goes on. I will say that Amazon did respond to the article the day after it was released, and they mentioned, it was kind of a quick quote where they mentioned they had no intention of just dropping their private label brands in their entirety. So it will be interesting to see how this unfolds over time. Moving on to category, the fastest growing subcategories on the day. So we have various subcategories listed here. One thing I thought was particularly interesting is that we see 3 different baby products categories appear on this list. We see baby products, diapering, increase almost 400% year over year. We see strollers and accessories increase almost 200% year over year. And then we see baby products, safety in particularly, increase about 140%. So the fact to me, so it's really interesting to see that there's 3 of these baby subcategory brands growing. That being said, I'm no, birthing rate or baby expert. In fact, frankly, I'm kind of scared of babies. That being said, the experts have noted that there was a bit of a baby bust during Prime Day, or excuse me, during the pandemic. And the fact that now, the United States has returned to a sense of normalcy, the experts are expecting some type of baby boom. And I think we are seeing that trend be reflected here among the top, fastest growing subcategories. Some of the other fastest growing subcategories we see here are wearable technology. We see a 281% increase. This was largely driven by the Apple Watch Series 7. Additionally, we have that luggage and travel gear. We saw Samsonite at the top of the list. I think this is really goes to show that consumers are really acting on their pent-up travel demand, right? People are really excited to get traveling, as now there's very limited COVID restrictions, if any at all, and we're seeing that represented here. Additionally, we have storage and home organization increased by about 3 times year over year. And then we also have household supplies and software increase relatively quickly as well. I thought software was a particularly interesting category to have an increase on Prime Day. I went ahead and looked at the bestseller rankings, and it was dominated by antivirus type of software, which could indicate there's increased, consumer wariness about their online privacy or security. So we may see more trends aligned with this, software growth as we move forward. If in fact consumers are feeling that their, private digital assets are at risk. And I want to take one moment to plug our industry team. We have industry analysts at Similarweb that cover on very specific categories. This insight was created by our beauty industry analyst, Ines Durand, and she found that brand TikTok views were actually heavily correlated with bestseller rank and with the top selling products on Prime Day, right? So we see all of these brands that populate on the top 10 list have at least 65, 66 million brand TikTok views. And we see actually at the number 10 spot, True Skin Vitamin C Serum for Face, they had 1 billion brand TikTok views. I can only imagine that this 1 billion TikTok views incrementally helps them, or drastically helps them increase their bestseller rank there. So it really goes to show the importance TikTok has in the beauty category. Additionally, this was another analysis created by someone on our industry team, Lisa Durand. She was focusing on the toy industry for Prime Day, and she found that Bunch of Balloons had a rapid year-over-year growth rate. I mentioned previously that that Amazon mentioned specifically that a lot of summertime purchases were made over Prime Day, and I think we're seeing here that being expressed as well, as Bunch of Balloons is in fact a water balloon brand. Again, like I mentioned, we have this industry team, and they've been working and making really interesting content, digging deeper into a couple of specific categories. So if you have any interests in looking at those more granular reports, please reach out, and we'd happy to send those over and discuss those findings as well. Moving on, now I want to take a little deeper dive into the impact inflation had on Prime Day. As I'm sure we're all aware, the nation has been racked by inflationary pressures, and we have seen this impact pricing year over year on Prime Day. You'll notice that the all categories average for a price increase was 13%. So think of that kind of as your overall Amazon benchmark. And it's really interesting to see what appears on the left of that benchmark or had higher price increases versus what appears on the right, or what had less or had lower price increases. So we see arts and crafts sewing have the highest price increase. We see tools, home and improvement, grocery, all kind of have more than a 25% increase. One thing I thought was pretty remarkable was that Amazon devices and accessories also increased their prices 25% year over year. So despite the fact that they were able to, have such strong unit sales and revenue figures, they were able to do that while increasing their prices more than electronics, which only had a 5% year-over-year price increase, which really goes to show how competitive Amazon is being within their own retailer site for their specific devices. So definitely something to keep watching moving forward. Additionally, we see baby products increase 20%. It'll be interesting to see if this was just on Prime Day, or if this is related to potentially an overall increase in that birthing rate that we're seeing. And then those categories that have, not as haven't seen as drastic price increases are things like toys and games, electronics, health and household has barely moved at all. Whereas beauty and personal care, the pricing is pretty aligned with the overall benchmark. Taking one step further, now we're going to be looking at the average order value and the average cart size on Amazon Prime Day. And so we'll see in both instances that the average order value and the average cart size did increase. So the average order value increasing from $53 last year to $65 this year. And the average cart size, we're seeing a slight increase there, but relatively, we're seeing consumers on Amazon on Prime Day purchase about the same amount of goods as they did last year. This is a really good indication that at least on Prime Day, consumers were willing to bite the inflationary bullet, right? They were able to continue purchasing. Now that maybe because they use this opportunity to do additional shopping at a discounted rate, and maybe they've been holding back shopping on different days. However, that being said, at least in terms of consumer behavior this Prime Day, in terms of cart size, it was very similar. So we are seeing, at least on this day for promotional periods, consumers are willing to stomach the overall rising inflation. Moving on to average order value by department. So here we have a couple of the biggest categories broken out. Here we're looking at like electronics, home and kitchen, clothing, shoes and jewelries, and health and household. Here you'll see that all of the average order values did increase. So again, everyone has purchased, all the consumers are, having on average a more expensive cart at checkout. However, the average cart size for electronics, home and kitchen, and clothing, shoes, and jewelries, there was barely any significant change, right? The average cart size stayed remarkably the same, really indicating that consumer behavior was very similar to last year, and that consumers were just willing to, they still had the same willingness to purchase at those higher price points. One thing I thought was interesting, that health and household, while the numeric discrepancy between Prime Day 2021 versus 2022 for the average cart size was very slim, it's about like a 0.1 or a 1.4, right? 0.14, excuse me. The percentage change year over year was actually pretty significant. It was a 13 percentage change from 2021 for 2022, indicating that consumers were taking this opportunity to purchase more items. Consumers may have been using, Prime Day discounts to do a little extra grocery shopping over this time period, and which contributed to that increase in average cart size. Now moving on to the halo effect. Again, the halo effect being Prime Day's impact on other large big box retailers. So you'll see everyone was getting in on the Prime Day spirit. We saw that Best Buy had a Black Friday and July sale. Walmart has been leveraging their rollback program, which is very similar, deals program. Target had their deal days very closely aligning, or almost exactly aligning with Prime Day's actual schedule as well. And then Wayfair has been doing their Save-a-thon events almost all month. So we're definitely seeing retailers at least attempt to piggyback on the shopping excitement that Prime Day has generated. Moving on, here we're looking at actual website traffic to these other big box retailers, and we're looking at it by day, right? And so, looking at the Prime Day schedule, or the Prime Day days, excuse me, we see that most of these retailers did in fact see a spike on Prime Day, especially day one. We see Walmart have an increase, Target have an increase, and Best Buy have an increase. Again, that kind of peters out in day two, but they definitely had some kind of significant increase that day one. Additionally, something I thought was particularly interesting, that Target's deal days actually started on the 11th. It was from July 11th to July 13th, and their strategy to start their discounted holiday one day earlier definitely worked in terms of site traffic. We see that they get a significant spike in traffic the day before that none of their competitors really see, right? So really interesting strategy by Target, and something that other retailers in the space may want to copy. Another interesting finding here is that Wayfair really didn't see much growth over this time period. Again, we didn't really see furniture have a huge impact on Prime Day, at least in terms of like fast growing categories, or they're being included in any of like the top products or top brands. Another thing to think about is Wayfair's Save-a-thon is actually all month long. So maybe their site just wasn't able to generate that interest during this time period to generate an increased bump in traffic. So definitely something Wayfair should consider moving forward when scheduling their discount holidays next year. So now we're looking at Amazon shopper overlap with these other retailers. A good way to break down this metric is essentially reading it out loud. So 12%. So the eBay insight is essentially that 12% of Amazon shoppers also visited ebay.com on Prime Day 2022. So in terms of that halo effect, we do see eBay being strongest in terms of being able to siphon the most traffic away from Amazon. Additionally, we see Walmart come away with about 8%. Apple, people were likely cross shopping between apple.com and amazon.com, trying to make sure they found the very best deal for their AirPod Pros or their Apple Watches. Additionally, we also see Home Depot, Target, and Best Buy pull away with a significant share of Amazon shoppers, all within that 4 to 3% range. And then additionally, we see Wayfair get a little less than 2% of their traffic. So this is taking a deeper dive into the actual marketing channels on Amazon Prime Day. So we have it broken down by direct traffic, organic search, referrals, social, paid search, email, and display ads. And so we're seeing that Amazon, in particularly compared to the rest of the big box retailers, most of their traffic was coming from direct traffic, which means people going in and typing amazon.com in the URL, right? So, everyone was aware of Prime Day. Consumers were directly going to that site to shop. We're seeing that the other big box retailers relied much more heavily on organic search over the Prime Day in terms of their share of traffic. We see Best Buy get most 32% of their traffic from organic search, similar a share as Target and Walmart. We see that Wayfair actually predominantly used paid search. They got about 26% of their search traffic, from their overall traffic from paid search. And then additionally, we see them getting more display ads as well, indicating that Wayfair was really, upping their ad spend during this time to ensure they would get some traffic in this time period. And then we also see the Best Buy, Target, and Walmart also over-index Amazon in terms of that share of paid search as well. Okay, great. So that was all of the insights for today. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Mackenzie, I believe we were going to take the time to ask and answer a couple of questions. Do we have any from the audience?
Yeah, thank you so much, Brendan. I'll read a couple to you. Right now, they're mostly category focused.
Okay, cool.
You mentioned a potential baby boom and that there were increases on Prime Day. Has there been any general category growth as well?
Yeah. The baby growth has been growing like month over month, which does indicate that shoppers are getting ready for said baby boom. One thing I thought was particularly interesting was that the stroller category in particular is the fastest growing baby category on Amazon. So yeah, definitely seeing that month over month steady growth in the baby category.
Great. The next one's about wearable technology. Were there any other products besides those that you mentioned that help drive growth?
Yeah. So thinking about wearable technology as defined by Amazon, this is mostly your smartwatches and your smart wrist and arm bands. So think of products like Fitbit. There were a couple Fitbit products on the the best seller rankings. That being said, most of the growth in the category was driven by the Apple Watch.
Got it. And then lastly, are you able to elaborate on how Amazon was able to increase its device market share to about 10%, as I think you said on Prime Day?
Yeah, exactly. So Amazon Amazon devices grabbed 10% of share on Prime Day versus their standard 1% of revenue. Keep in mind, again, electronics has been, historically one of the biggest categories on Prime Day. They generally see a huge lift, so it makes sense that Amazon's market share increased. That being said, Amazon devices market share increased much more quickly than electronics did. And it was likely due to Amazon really catering the consumer experience toward their sites. We see even on regular shopping days that Amazon will place their own products at the top of the SERP results. We'll see that Amazon will incorporate its own products into related or suggested products pages. So they were likely pulling all the levers they had the capability to ensure that any consumers who were searching for not a specific brand were being, siphoned towards their specific Amazon devices, which led to such strong success on the day. Sounds like that was all the questions. Well, again, thank you so much for everyone for joining. Again, our industry analyst team have been working really hard to pull out some more category specific reports. So if you want to see those reports or you have any further questions about this report and study, please reach out to either your point of contact at Similarweb or through the integrated marketing email alias, and we'd be happy to share additional insights further. Thank you again so much for taking the time to join today, and have a good rest of your day. Bye-bye now.